Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into spirituality, and most of all, what we're here is we want to learn from you any tools or techniques to help us with our spiritual progress and anything that you do that you think can help us. I know you're full of information. You've spoken to so many people, and I think you're amazing. I love the work you're doing. So go ahead, take the floor. Tell us anything you want that can help us be more inspired and live our lives better. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for the kind introduction, Joni, and right back at you. We've done several interviews together, and I've been following your work, and I think what you do is absolutely amazing, and you've been doing it at such a high level for quite some time, many years, and I think everyone here is very fortunate to be learning from you, as we are, when we're watching what you do. So thank you again for having me, and thank you all for being here and allowing me to speak. As Joni said, my wife and I, we started a YouTube channel a few years ago called Inspired. And I think the story, how it came about, really sums up why we do what we do and how we do it. So we've been in the spiritual field, if you will, and I don't like labeling things too much, but, just to give an understanding, we've been interested, working in it. My wife's a counselor, a life coach. She goes very deep and has been with people for a very long time. So this has been a big part of our lives. And then the quest for the nature of reality, what it really is, where we come from, what our purpose is, and the deception, of course, which is a great part of what we're seeing now, seeing through the veil. What Joni speaks about also is these world events that are helping people to see what reality could be, what it really isn't, but we've been told it is. And so a few years ago, I'm actually an artist and songwriter, and we're originally from Europe. So we moved to the States a few years ago now, 8 years ago. And this has been full-time home for 8 years, and we love it. And we came to Nashville because I'm a country writer and artist. And I was a recording artist back in Europe, and so that's what I wanted to do here as well. And for quite a few years, I've been really, working very hard at it every single day. And I think I kind of got lost in a little bit of, like so many, in a loop that wasn't very inspired anymore, just trying to make it happen, replicate what I had done in Europe and make it bigger and all that stuff that people do in various fields and careers. And so as things didn't work out the way I wanted to, I would just intensify my work, do more and more and more, and work harder and work harder. And it just nothing really seemed to work out the way I wanted it to. And so when I was at the point where I was working 14, 15, 16 hours a day and didn't see any results, there was a point where I felt like, okay, I need to really surrender. There's something bigger here. There's a bigger message here. There's a reason why this isn't working out the way I want it to. My ego wants it to be honest, because, when we open ourselves up, there's always a greater plan. So it was around about the same time that I had made the decision that I wanted to meditate every day, not just every now and then, not just when I felt the need to, but really show up every day for that. And so I remember one morning, I usually get up very early. I was very out of it. I was kind of in a worried state. Things weren't working out. Bills had to be paid and all that stuff. You know how that is. And so I just said, okay, I might as well surrender to this moment, because there's nothing else I could think of that I could possibly do to help the situation. So I surrendered. I went upstairs into her bedroom, and I closed my eyes and I just surrendered to a meditation. And the next thing I know is 2 hours later, I came out of it and had a very deep, profound sense of peace within me. And so at that moment, I decided, well, if nothing else works, what I'm going to do is just for the next day, just show up, keep showing up for this meditative state and see what it has to show me. And it wasn't long before one morning I meditated, must have been about 4 a.m. I was meditating in my favorite chair. And when I came out of it, I clearly heard the words, you should start a YouTube channel and call it Inspired. Now, this was so far off the mark for me at that time with what I was doing. it was just like, what, where, what should I do? Why should I, what YouTube channel, you know? So literally, but I knew better than to question something as deep as this was. This was not just an idea, it was a deep inspiration. So, you know, I went to YouTube, I registered the channel, called it Inspired. I was really amazed that it was available, to have a channel called Inspired, but I guess that's how it was meant to be. And we began putting out videos that talked about spirituality and what people perceive to be the law of attraction. And it began growing from there. And a few days in, I told Christine about the whole thing. I kept it quiet for a few days, and then I told her about it. And as always, you know, my wife is the most supportive being on this planet. So if she feels something is inspired, she would never, ever try to talk me out of it. So she said, let's do it. And so we started putting in our combined inspiration, and that was really the key for it all. It was, okay, what is the creator putting in front of us every day? Nothing more. We didn't plan ahead. We didn't make a 6-month plan. We didn't make a financial plan. We just kept doing what the creator put in front of us every day. And a year later, that was 2020, and the channel had grown steadily, nicely. Christine came out of a meditation. That was at the beginning of the whole COVID thing. And she came out of it in the morning with the same sense of deep inspiration as I had a year prior, and said, we should do daily live streams. I think a lot of people are scared, frightened. They don't know what to believe. And they're just caught in this, you know how 2020 was. I mean, especially the first 6, 7, 8 months before anyone could get a grip on what's really happening. So we started doing daily live streams, simply showing up with people, inviting them for you know, meditations together, breathing techniques, talking about things, a space where people just continue to show up, to have a sense of community when everyone was, you know, far apart and locked up and whatnot. And it continued to grow from there, and we would just continually show up for the work that was put in front of us. To this day, we don't plan very far ahead, because there's always a clear sign what to do and when to do it. And that's probably the greatest thing we've learned in the past 3 years. Because, you know, when you go through life, some of the same subjects keep coming up until you address them fully, until you heal them fully. And so one of those subjects for us was to trust the guidance, trust the intuition, trust the moment that's presenting itself to you, even if it looks completely different than you would have wanted it to. And I think that is so often the hardest part to do, is what's being put in front of me, my task right now might not at all align with what I thought I should be doing. And this is the illogical part of it all. This is where our logic can't grasp a greater plan. And so I always tell this story as a little nutshell of how, when you do what is being put in front of you, even though it might seem illogical, it can create tremendous energy. Today, you know, with difficulties, because sometimes we say things that YouTube doesn't want us to say. We have grown to almost 500,000 subscribers, and the numbers matter only because it allows us to reach more people. That's really just, you know, the status and all that doesn't matter at all to us. We don't define ourselves by that. So the numbers are only, it's only beautiful to see that we can reach many people, and that a conversation is happening, and that we can see that people are literally changing their lives because they feel inspired, not because of what we tell them to do, but because they feel their inspiration within. And so that, in a nutshell, is a little bit of our journey over the past 3.5 years.
That's amazing. You know what, I was taking a few notes here because there's some key issues here that I think all of us can gain insight from your experience. And it is that you chose to surrender.
Yes.
I mean, we're all such control freaks, right? We're like, it's got to be this way, that way, and this is my goal. This is what I want. And of course, it's the ego. But when you decided, you just threw your hands up and you said, I surrender. There's got to be another plan. This, what I'm forcing, isn't working. I love that you said that. And the other thing that I think is so meaningful is you said you had no plan. You know, I have to tell you, my whole University of Vedic Astrology kind of fell that way. I really didn't know that I was going to go, what was going to follow after the next step, but it happened. And it's kind of like you, it happened. And it wasn't like I strategically said, okay, after I do this, I'm going to do this. Then I'm going to, no, not at all. It fell into place just like you. And I think it's so important for everyone to know how you came upon all of this. This is my interpretation of what I'm gaining out of what you just said, John. To trust that intuition, even though you feel like it's a little crazy because there's no plan. I'm like, how is this going to work? And the other thing that I think is so amazing, that 500,000 people are wanting all this. They want the spirituality. We need this now. The planet is changing. It's transforming. So I love everything that you said. It helps me reaffirm things in my life as well. And I hope everyone else here has the same sense about it. And tell us, do you have any little special tools or techniques? You know, here I am going into probably the planning stage again, right? The planning stage where I want to be in control. But do you have any like tools that you feel like in meditation or that you do daily in your practices that can help us? Because sometimes we feel lost and we think, you know, I need a tell me how to do it step by step kind of thing, because that's how I am with astrology, step by step. Because when you just sit down and you go, I'm going to meditate, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, all of a sudden I get kind of like, well, where do I start? So do you have any little words of advice with that?
Yeah, actually, I mean, we just came back from Florida where we hosted a retreat, the Yato retreat, and Yato is YATO. You are the one. And we in 3.5 days with 25 people. That's about the maximum that for the intensity of the retreat, maximum of people that we can do. It's quite amazing how deep we can go in 3.5 days in the transformation that happens. So the first thing is, don't limit yourself too much by thinking, everything takes years. Some things take time, but some things can happen fairly quickly if you decide to show up for yourself. And that's the first thing, is really the showing up for yourself. I mean, we're so quick to commit to other people, and we live up to our promises and we honor our commitments to other people, because we say, hey, I mean, I'm going to honor my word. If I said I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. But what about the commitments that we make to ourselves, like self-care, self-love, time for ourselves, actually creating space in our days where it's not about productivity necessarily, but really about showing up for you, discovering who you really are. And so that, to me, that's the morning. Simply, I mean, because I decided a long time ago that when the creator wakes me up, which is usually fairly early, I won't fight it. I'll get up and I'll show up for the conversation. So that's one thing. Our ego wants us to stay in bed, cozy up, it's cozy, warm, pull up the blanket, sleep a few more hours. But the truth is, when you're first awakened at 3 or 4 or 5, whenever that time is for you, you have this sense of, hey, I'm ready to go, but it's still early. I wouldn't fight that. I would literally get up and not do a whole lot of anything. Don't turn on your phone or don't go for any great activity. Just be present, maybe sit up if you're in your bed, or go to whatever room is pleasant in your place and sit down and just become present. It's very easy. The day hasn't started yet. The impressions aren't here yet. The mind isn't racing yet. So you're in a very receptive state. And in that receptive state, I also would encourage everyone who's not a regular meditator to just, kind of throw the word out for a little while. Meditation is so loaded with so much meaning and pressure for people, because all of a sudden when they begin, oh my God, I have to get into this enlightened state within 20 seconds or less. If I can't do it, my mind is racing. Listen, our minds were created to work. They have a lot of tasks to do. So to try to turn off your mind is literally impossible. What we call meditation is getting in the gap between your thoughts. That's the imagine every thought is an island, and you actually sailing in between those islands. That is the state of deep relaxation. That is the state of when you're really receptive, and that takes practice. The easiest way to do it for me is a breathing technique. So for about 2 minutes or so, I will go into a deep breathing pattern. And the reason is that when you focus on your breathing, you're going to have a hard time thinking about a lot of things. You're just going to focus on that. And then you exhale after those 2 minutes and you just relax. Nothing more, nothing less. And then what I do is, after my breathing technique, it's a little more sophisticated, includes more, but for the beginning, just do that. And then what I do is I simply express my gratitude for the things that come up very naturally. Nothing forced. What am I thankful for right now? This moment, peace, the air I'm breathing, a comfy chair, very simple things that might come up in that moment, but it immediately puts me in a state of gratitude. And that is a very receptive state. Gratitude it's a magnetic state. It's a beautiful state. You've all heard this before, but it isn't just what happens in your mind. It's when your whole body sinks into this state of gratitude. And really what happens afterwards is I just allow for however much time my body stays in this state of relaxation. And when it's over, and that's fine. When it doesn't, sometimes it goes extremely deep, sometimes it doesn't, and I don't force it. I don't try to make it happen, if you will. That's the whole surrender part of it. So that's how my day starts. It's breathing and a deep relaxation. And the beautiful thing is that the more you do it, the more you can play with it. If you have a deep desire in your life, if something keeps coming up for you over a long period of time, it's usually very purpose driven. So then when you're in this relaxed state, you can imagine being in that fulfilled desired state. You can imagine yourself, whatever it is that you want, whether you want to travel or you want a life partner or whatever that is. You just imagine what it feels like, because it's fairly easy. Your mind isn't resisting. You're in a relaxed state, and you're actually imprinting every cell of your body with this feeling, of the fulfilled state. But really, if you're not if you're new to meditation, breathing, exhaling, relaxing, expressing gratitude, very, very, very simple, and take it from there. Don't try to overdo it. And during the day, what I would encourage everyone to do, simply because we're shallow breathers, to continually 4, 5, 6 times a day go into this deep breathing pattern for 2 minutes. You will fill up your body with oxygen. You will feel amazing. It's like a natural antidepressant, because what these pills do is what you can do naturally but better. So these pills are, without all the side effects. You literally fill up your body with oxygen. It goes through the whole system, and you release the happy hormones. It happens so fast, and it's so fulfilling. So these are 2 things that we encourage everyone to do, because anyone can do it anywhere you are. You don't have to have any money for it. You don't have to have a coach for it. You don't have to have anything for it. It's just you showing up for you.
That is so cool. And we usually start this whole class with 3 deep breaths. That's what we usually do. But when we had a speaker, we haven't. We just go right into the dissertation, because, like you say, breath work is, well, in astrology, in Vedic astrology, we calculate the chart, not for when the baby comes out, but when it takes its first breath. Because breath is everything. And that's why we feel so good when we exercise, because it forces us to breathe deep,
Yes.
And we always forget throughout the day. I know I'm guilty of breathing very shallow, and then I think, let me take some deep breaths. And I agree with you. It starts to ground you and connect you to what's important. So I love that. And coming up with purpose. it's like things that are always coming up to us. I think that's a good key for everyone to try to remember, you know, what am I supposed to be doing? What is it that keeps coming up for you? Just like John says,
Yeah.
this is going to tell us what we need to learn or grow through. We're all different. And, you know, but let me ask you this, how did a voice just come out and say, start a YouTube channel?
I don't, I've had these,
That's amazing.
I've had these conversations with what I call the great mystery creator, God, spirit. I mean, you fill in the blank, whatever works for
Right,
you.
right.
But I've had these conversations numerous times very naturally. And then I notice that when I want them to happen, like, you know, when I seek them out and when I kind of demand, it doesn't work. But spontaneously, and there was another episode which might be interesting because we just talked about it, where I was doing a pineal gland activation meditation. It's a breathing technique, and the pineal gland, when you activate it, it's really two parts that have to come together, and you do it with your mind. You basically pull up your breath into the center of your head, and you imagine how you pull up the spinal fluid through the spine into your brain. And when those two elements come together, you activate the pineal gland, and it's like a fireworks in your brain, and you're hyper perceptive. And so I had, you know, I'd done it on by accident before in my life, but now I wanted to really learn how to do it purposefully. And so for days I kept showing up for this breathing technique and meditation. It just wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. And the fifth or sixth day in, I just gave up again. Like I was okay. I mean, I've been doing this. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And all of a sudden I hear a voice and said, do it again. Let me guide you. Literally words in my head. Let me guide you. And the voice told me how to breathe, and I did it. And within 30 seconds, it was like the brightest feeling light I've ever seen, felt. It was like I had completely lost all limitations with my body. It was absolutely amazing. And then what I call the creator took me, guided me into a space where I was detached from my body. I wasn't attached to the physical reality anymore. And the creator said, what do you want? And I said, what do you mean? What do you want? I said, what do you want? This is your chance. What do you want? And I you know, I was thinking of the things in my life that I wanted, and I would say one thing, and the creator said, done. And, you know, that was a fairly small thing. So the creator said, what else do you want? So he said, okay, something bigger. This all happened in my mind. So I said something that was bigger than the first thing. Creator said, done. And so I kept making bigger demands, if you will, all the things I wanted in my life. And the creator kept saying, done, 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 with the same ease and flow, you know, whether you want a pencil or you want a castle, it doesn't matter, done. And I had this learning feeling, or this realization feeling, that between what stands between us and our purpose and our deepest desires is really just our beliefs and what we have been brought up with and all the walls we've been taught to pull up. And so this was another one of those meditations where I think 90 minutes or 2 hours later, I came out, I thought it had been 20 minutes. And it had literally changed my life within those 2 hours completely, because there was a sense of knowing that I did have, first of all, I did have a really deep purpose for me and for the whole presence here. And so does everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And we mistake purpose with, this has to be huge. The whole world has to see it. No, you know, purpose is everything that you feel a deep connection to. And you can't explain why. You can't explain to others why this is so important to you or why you feel so inspired to do it. You just have to do it. And that's what purpose means. And it can be a small thing. It can be a big thing. And when you follow it, you'll do the most illogical things, but they'll bring you the greatest joy in your life. It's
I can relate to that. Hold on one second. I have a dog that wants in this room so bad. She keeps scratching. Let me open the door really quick. Sorry about this. I can't take it anymore. Come on, Stella. All right. Okay, Stella's in the room with me now. So
wonderful.
sorry. Yeah. But Yeah, I think meditation is the key because it's really the only time that we connect with our inner spirit, the spirit within, God, whatever you want to call it. As you say, whatever people want to call it is fine, but it's an essence of all that is and is in everyone. And when we get connected with that, I think all of our problems for a moment, if we allow it and if we practice, melt away, because then you start to put everything in perspective. What is this? What is really important? Probably not the thing you were worried about previously in the big scheme of the picture. We've got to always be. And you know what I used to think of, that this will sound really ridiculous probably to some of you, but I used to think of, okay, let me put this in perspective. We are on a planet that's circular on the side of a planet. How we stay on it like that, I don't know, but we're whirling through space, and there's no such thing as time or limits, and there's no beginning and end. So that makes me put things in a big perspective, if I could say, because we're worrying about these ridiculous things, what somebody might have said or didn't say. And I think this really does help me connect to the greater purpose of what is really and truly going on in the world. And I've noticed another thing, John, you have really taken up a lot of interesting things that are happening in the world. And really brought out the beautiful aspects of things going on currently in the world. I think this is something that you just kind of gravitated to and started doing, such as when the truckers in Canada, were all doing
Mhm.
the convoy. I thought that was so cool the way you supported it. Are there any other new things or anything else that you support that you feel like is helping humanity right now?
Yes, and thank you for asking this question, because I love how this is happening in the world today. There were two things in my life that used to be kind of separate from each other that I was always felt deeply connected to. One is um the quest for my own spirituality, what that means, what am I as a spirit, what is all of this really, and having that journey. And the other one is, what is reality, what is happening around us, and what we now call conspiracy theories, which really they aren't. It's just truth seeking, right? And the more you look, the more you see how things are not the way they're being portrayed. One of the things um that is happening right now that I'm a big, or we're big supporters of, is there's a man called Jim Gale, and he started a company or a movement called Food Forest Abundance. And basically, he came from a lot of the same background of researching, but also having this deep spiritual connection. And he said, what are the solutions? Because that's really what we're here for. What are the solutions? Once we realize what the problem is, well, let's focus on what the solutions are. And so we shared the observation that we're all very, very dependent on a system that we have literally no control over. So whether that is food or power or water, the necessities of life, unless you grow your own food, unless you are somehow independent, we all depend on a system we have literally no control over because we're not the ones running it. And so when people realize that, and that is a huge control point, the idea comes up, well, how can I become independent? And Jim was so inspired that he for years and years studied permaculture, gardening in all climate zones, and said, how can we bring this on a larger scale? Like, for example, just in the United States, there is I don't know how many, probably millions of acres of just lawn that people have in their backyards, front yards, just a lot of just grass growing, and how much of that could be dedicated to fruit trees and other edible plants, and how people could become independent with what they have right now, not just necessarily buying new land, just what they have now. And so they put their heads together. He brought great people in, and so they're now building whole neighborhoods, but they're also offering to come to you, or you check out their website, and they will, if you want them to, they will design a whole permaculture food forest garden for your yard, no matter how small or big it is. And if you say, I don't have a green thumb yet, I'm still learning, you can actually hire someone of their specialists that come and they put them in for you and teach you all about it. The beautiful thing about it is that it doesn't require a lot of upkeep. Permaculture is designed like nature. So basically plants are being put together that are together in nature that help each other. So that's what permaculture is based on. And it's all perennials, which means plants that continue to grow over years. You don't have to plant them every year. And so that's something we are greatly supporting, because we believe that's a vision that can be so easily, relatively easy implemented for a lot of people. And they're also offering solutions for people in apartments. They're doing city projects with edible parks, and it's all growing really beautifully. And that's one of those visions that we've been working on in the background for such a very long time. Christine, my wife, she's had a green thumb all her life, or green toes and thumbs and fingers, everything. So it's just something very close to our hearts. And I just love walking through our own garden and the freedom that it gives us and the beauty and the oasis feeling. But that's one of the biggest projects. And the beautiful thing is that now candidates and politicians are jumping on board, seeing the wisdom in that, and discovering how people resonate with politicians that actually support independence. And I think we should all think about that deeply. It isn't natural for a human being to live so dependent on outside forces. And I think we should all reflect on that. What are my basic needs, and how can I begin to provide for myself and my family? And just this is beginning to really spread around the planet. People are realizing this. They're waking up to, of course, the gas prices, all the external factors too. And we're just seeing huge momentum for this. And the support is here. The momentum is here, the inspiration is here, and the time is here. It's just something that's very close to our hearts.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. Now is the time. There's never been a time on the planet where I believe, well, of course, where all the planets are directing their energies, but what they're telling me, it is the time of the Great Awakening. And it doesn't happen in an instant. That's what people don't understand. They're thinking, it's going to be a big explosion, everyone's awake. No, it's happening slowly, but it's happening is the point. Before people were just in the dark and they didn't, and all of a sudden, and I think all of these difficult things that are going on in the planet are what are forcing the awakening. It's like, I always say these COVID and all these difficult situations are happening for a divine reason, because it gives us the opportunity to grow and change. And it's happening quite quickly because of all the events that keep coming down on us. So somebody was asking, what is the name of the company that designs the permaculture?
So it's Food Forest Abundance.
Okay. And
if you type that in, it'll lead you immediately to the website. Perfect. And you can just look up what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's Jim Galen, right?
Jim Gale, Gale.
Oh, Gale.
Yeah, Jim Gale. And he's absolutely great guy. We're actually going down to his property in Central Florida in a couple of days to do another interview there and check it all out and get a feel for what they've already done. Yeah, that's the one. Exactly, Madeline. Yeah. Thank you.
So when you go down to Florida, are you going to do any YouTubes there where you're going to talk about all this? Great. So we'll be watching for that on your Inspired channel, right? Is that where it's going to be?
Yes. And we've interviewed Jim, I think two or three times. So you can find the videos on our YouTube channel where he talks about it a lot. And it's, they're always looking for people to even work within Food Forest Abundance that are inspired to become a part of it. So it's a growing family, and we're just beginning to see the momentum. I think it's going to really explode in the next year or so.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit more about anything else that you're doing and anything how we can get in touch with you and find out more about you and what you're doing right now.
So we're really we're spreading across different platforms with the work because of YouTube's nature and what you can and cannot say in our semi frustration also sometimes with
Well, that's why we have this today. You can say whatever you want.
yeah. So you know, put in simple terms, we don't believe in the in censorship, you know, and so part of the work that we're doing now is finding the right platforms. We're now on Rumble as well and locals, and so this takes a little bit of planning and work in the background. But our we're going to continue to do the retreats probably 2, maybe 3 times a year, and they're going to stay as small as they are. We're 25 people. That's as many as we want to take on for this format, and that's something we love to do. It's the most intense thing probably that you can do in 3.5 days, as you know, for us as hosts and as for the people who show up. And it was absolutely amazing again to do that. But right now we feel, and this is something that we're seeing the fruits of, is this awakening that you're talking about. It basically inspires people for 2 things. They're seeking community, like-minded people. This is really, really important. So we want to continue to foster this community and connect people together. That's why we started this on the locals platform. It's kind of a beautiful format where you can join the community, the inspired community, and post yourself and comment on other people's posts, so people can actually interact with each other. That's really important to us. And it's not muddied with a million outside ads and posts where you lose track. It's really streamlined. You're within one community and express yourself there. This is important. And then as much as people think, okay, everybody knows now what's going on, there's a lot of information that is now just beginning to really be revealed. And instead of bringing information that could be potentially very fearful or frightening for people, we want to show it, but infuse it with light and show the positive side of what it means when this information comes to light. This is important to us, because to just say this horrible thing is going on and leave you with that, it isn't inspiring to me. It doesn't bring any solutions. But I see light work, as you will, if you want to call it that, as actually going into darker places and infusing them with light, bringing things to light and actually help with the healing and transformation process. That's what's inspiring to us. And it might not be the right thing for everyone, but this is just what we do. And so we go into sometimes very, very difficult topics, like child trafficking and child abuse, which is really hard to stomach if you are not grounded and balanced yourself. And even if you are, it's hard to stomach. But our idea here is, how can we bring this to light and begin a healing journey so these things can eventually be transformed and end it on earth? There has to be a vision without this kind of monstrous activity that's happening. And I always say, well, if I'm not going to do it, who's going to do it? I don't know. So if I feel inspired, I do it. And that's a big part of our work, is bringing light to these subjects and helping people find an inspiring way of moving forward and maybe becoming part of the solution. That's really what we feel most inspired to do. And that's why we sometimes talk about current news and bring it in a bigger perspective, like you do, show the bigger picture and what people can actually do to help in this process. And last but not least, it's also important for me for people to understand, like you said, we're in a transformational period. So there are bound to be bad things. There are bound to be things that are very chaotic for a time. And it's also our intention to tell people, hey, prepare spiritually, prepare physically, prepare in all areas of your life to sustain yourself through these periods. It's kind of like when a blizzard is coming, You don't stand outside with your shorts and your t-shirt on. You start making preparations,
Right.
and the storm is already here, and it's going to take a little longer. And it's going to be there's going to be sunny periods and it's going to be stormy periods, and until we're on the other side of this. And so, like you say, this is a period. It's not a moment. And this is maybe very important to understand, that we are the ones living through this period, and we're actually pioneers for a new world.
Yeah, I agree. So I know this is a lot to ask, but the worst thing that is going on is the human trafficking with children. How do you shed light on that? What is it that you say to that or you do for that?
Well, one of the things is that and that's happening offline, that we're building in the background is, so there are organizations. One of them is Tim Ballard. I don't know if you've heard of him. Project Railroad Underground. Um, he's been doing this for many, many years. He's an ex-Navy SEAL, and he brings whole teams into operation. So he's busting open operations, that child trafficking operations and rings, and he's doing it all around the world. And what we're inspired to do is build a center out in nature with animals, a lot of nature, for the children that are actually rescued, to go into a therapeutic natural space where they can recover, heal, and then when this process, for however long it takes, is basic, or when they're better, try to integrate them and connect them with, maybe if they don't have families, with families who will adopt them. There's a bit, I mean, this is way bigger than we think it is. So we're talking about hundreds of thousands of children, millions if we were able to rescue them all. But this is so huge. So it's something we're slowly building in the background. It requires a lot of inspired action funds, and we believe there are a few investors for that coming on board. It's a huge operation. That's what we're working on in the background. But the talking about it, that we do, for example, in videos, is centered around the understanding that this isn't something new, and it is something that has been going on for a very, very long time. And if you want to look at the big picture of this, is abuse it's a tool for dark forces. So because it's a breaking of the spirit, and that's why this is so often a generational thing. It happens from generation to generation to generation, and then the next generation of children are being abused because it breaks their spirit and their connection to the creator. So they then become disconnected and very easy to manipulate. And this is the other part of this, is where we encourage deep healing processes. Christine and I have done a lot of deep healing sessions with people. We're not doing it so much anymore, but we're connecting the right people. And the deep healing is actual forgiveness processes, right? Because for those who have suffered any kind of abuse or trafficking, horrific things like that, and for any other kind of trauma, the forgiveness part is the only thing that's going to set you free for, to live a different life. And forgiveness isn't something we give to someone else openly for their benefit, but it's something for us. And there are deep healing processes that allow you to do that, to go into a state where you connect so deeply with the creator that you have the strength to forgive and give real forgiveness. It's not absolution. Forgiveness is for your soul to free itself from that past pain. And so we're educating people on how that works and how to do it, how they can find the right facilitators. And that's very important to us, because we've seen that whether you have had a little trauma or huge trauma in your life, we've all had trauma because of how our society operates. When you go into deep healing processes, you actually access a layer that you can't with your conscious mind. Our psyche stores things so deep and hides them, so we don't have that connection every day, all day. But eventually we have to go there and heal it. And when that healing happens, it's like people go from 10% to 100% literally within sometimes months in their life, where they are all of a sudden finally feeling that they're fully alive again, like they're really living on earth with everything around them again. And that's very important to us,
Mhm.
because this is the only thing we know of that can create lasting transformation in someone's life. But it's tough to say it out loud, because people say, how can you forgive that? But it's a spiritual process, and it's disconnected from our human perceptions. It has nothing to do with the other person. It's everything to do with you and your healing.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. When we think about forgiveness, we think, "Oh, I have to forgive him," or forgive, and it's yeah. And to me, some of the things like child abuse and such, to me, it is unforgivable, So it's not about forgiving someone else, but accepting that this was something you had to go through for your highest good to grow. That's how I can deal with the word forgiveness personally, in these kind of horrific.
I couldn't agree more. As a human being living on Earth, and our father, we have three children. They're grown up now, but we have three children. Um, in the human
You have
realm,
3 grown children?
yes.
I don't believe you. I thought, oh my God, I thought you were a baby, John. You certainly live life well. You look so youthful and young. I'm not saying that just to compliment you, it's a fact. Yeah.
Thank you. And Joni, right back at you. This is a compliment that's so easy to repay.
Thank you. It's true. We both have 3 grown children. Yeah.
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 So from that perspective, I'll be honest with you. For people that do such horrific things, I have a very clear, for me, a very clear understanding of what should happen to them. I
Yeah.
won't share it here, but I
Right.
have,
Right.
there's really no black and white, no gray zone here. I'm very black and white when it comes to that.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. So, you know what I feel like? What you're doing is more than just these things, it's a movement. Don't you feel like your whole life and what you're bringing about in the world is a movement in a sense that's getting other people to move and have like-mindedness like you? That's kind of what I feel like in my idea of thinking you're creating a movement of change.
Well, I think that's kind of naturally what we're inspired to do, and I'll I'll tell you where it came from. When I was a recording artist, and I'm still an artist, still writing songs, and I'll be recording a new album. But when I was a recording artist back in Europe, and I would go on tour and have concerts, people would, when I had interviews, they would ask me about how it feels to entertain such a big crowd, blah blah. And this never was what this was about for me. I always told them, if after a show someone walks up to me and says, I feel inspired, that's it. That was always my word. Because what does it mean? To be inspired means you're feeling something inside of you. It's not just excitement about an entertaining show. You watch someone who's doing what their purpose is,
Yeah.
and if you truly feel it, then you begin feeling, hey, I have that too. I have a purpose too. This is what it feels like to live on purpose.
Yeah.
And so this has always been our intention, showing people what it feels like to live on purpose, because we do it,
Mhm.
and then inspiring, hopefully, in them to find it within themselves to live on purpose. Because the way I see it, the whole world's made up of, I don't know, 7 billion or 7.5 billion puzzle pieces. If we all live up to our purpose, we all fit perfectly into our puzzle piece, and the picture is harmonious. If we live against our purpose and if we fight it, we are not fitting in this puzzle piece, and the whole picture is chaotic. And this is what we have been seeing, right? So
Mhm.
yes, it is a movement. And so it's never about following us. I don't want anyone to follow me. I don't want anyone to do as I say, or come on, I'll tell you what to do. No, just, this is what I'm inspired to do. If you can feel this authenticity, discover it within you and do what you are authentically called to do. That's all that I ever want to inspire in people. That's all we want to inspire in people.
Oh my God, that was so beautifully said. Can you repeat that? It was so inspired. I bet you can't even repeat it. It was so beautiful. I get it. I get it. So I want people here, we're almost at the hour point, but I want people to be able to ask you any questions. And if there's anything you can give us about yourself more, we'll post it and give everyone so they can get in contact with you and maybe some of the things that you're doing. Because I got to say, the word inspired fits you to a T. You are the inspiration. I'm serious. That is the most perfect word for you. And you've inspired all of us today. I love it. So anyone
Thank
here,
you.
would you like to say anything to John or ask him anything?
Anything.
They're always a little shy at first, but they speak up after a minute.
Yeah, I get
Hi,
it. No one
John.
wants to be the first one.
Hi there.
Hi, who's speaking? I
Hi.
can't.
It's Danica. I didn't know if you could hear me.
Oh yeah, Danica, I can hear you fine.
I just wanted to say I just love your videos. I'm a huge fan. The BBC 1968 Truth Bomb episode, I keep sending it to everyone. You do such great stuff. Thank you so much. I'm just such a huge fan. So I just wanted to let you know I appreciate you. You are just like Joni, the highlight of my week. So thank you.
Oh, Danica, thank you so much. And you are the highlight to us. I mean, if you guys knew how often we talk about Christine and I, about all of you, our intention is to feel you, to feel, the people that are connecting to us. And as I said, we never look at people as followers, but as a family, as a community. And so you inspire us deeply. So thank you so much, Danica.
Mhm.
Anyone else has a question? You can ask me anything. It doesn't mean I will answer, but you can ask anything.
Hi, everyone. My name is May. I'm out of St. Louis, Missouri area, and I'm kind of new to the forum, but I'm so glad I found it. My sister has been a huge follower of Joni for quite some time, and she's the one who encouraged me to step into this arena. So, Jean, I was really thrilled to hear you mentioning about making time for yourself, like self-commitment, put that over the commitments you have for other people, because um, I'm kind of like a type A personality. I put other people first, do everything that needs to be done, go down the to-do list, never really pay attention to myself. And I recently got diagnosed with stomach cancer. So I'm like really trying to change my mindset and how to get things done, live in the moment, that type of thing. So I wanted to ask you how, like, ways that I can train myself to kind of put my self-importance. I mean, I know that sounds really weird, self-importance over helping others, like how do I do self-commitment a little bit better, to take care of myself, like listen to my body and my
Mhm.
my physical needs, etc. And anything you can offer, you and Joni or anyone else, I'll appreciate it.
Well, first of all, thank you, May. And I'm beginning in this second to envision you in perfect health. This is the way I see you, in perfect health and healed and thriving. One of the things that we notice when we do our retreats, and this always comes up pretty much on the last day, because over the days that we show people tools and exercises and practices, everybody has a really profound experience at one point or another. This always happens because something resonates more than another thing, and then a kind of a shift happens. But then the last day is reserved for, I mean, this is confrontational on our part. How are you going to implement this into your days? Because otherwise, this is just another great weekend retreat, and it's going to wear off, and you're going to be where you were before. And so one of the things that we give our Yado participants as a visual is, imagine your inner child, imagine yourself as this baby that, part of you still is this inner child. How do you treat a baby? You would never, ever let a baby lay there and cry and don't attend to it and don't feed it, you wouldn't just do that, you know. And if you look at yourself, and maybe this part of you that now requires healing, you know, you can look at it as a baby that needs nurturing. This is a part of you. And I really every day picture yourself, you know, how you're holding this baby and how it needs nurturing. None of you would ever let a baby be unattended if it needs your attention. It's so natural to us. And are you not just like everyone else you're of service to? Because we love being of service. Don't get me wrong, I love being of service, but I'm also another. It's not just the others. I'm also another. I'm also one of those who I need to be of service to. And truth be told, I should be the first one I'm of service to, because when I'm nurtured, when I'm taken care of, when I'm well, I can bring wellness to others, help them find their wellness. So this image is really important, but it comes down to practical, tangible things, and to realize that when you start new practices, the body takes at least, and this is the truth, at least 3 months to catch up with your new timeline. So what that means is you're used to a certain kind of schedule, you know, helping others, doing a lot of things, being very productive. And so your body, according to your schedule, produces all the hormones that it needs to do that. So it's used to producing those hormones. When you start doing something differently in your life, your body is still producing the old hormones according to the old schedule. So what that will tell you is it will make you antsy. It will make you, you know, kind of, oh my God, I'm not productive, all those things. That's why you need to show up for yourself for at least 3 months to retrain your body. And so your body will then crave time for you. It will crave a space of self-care and self-love because you have trained it that, you know, that it has that time and that's its new schedule. And this is something, when people make that realization in their mind that our bodies can either be serving us or we're serving them, and you have to make the decision. Do you want to serve your body, or do you want to be the one who directs the direction here? And we encourage people to take control of that and say, I am in charge here. I'm not going to let old programs in my body dictate my life. So set aside a time in your day, whether that's an hour or 30 minutes or 2 hours, but make a commitment that no matter what, this time is yours and yours alone. I don't know if you live with other people, if you have family, but if you do, the earlier in the day, the better, the easier. This is just the way it is. But commit to that time and don't make it too complicated. Do something for yourself that feels good, that puts you in a relaxed state. It can be as easy as reading a good book and drinking a cup of tea or coffee, whatever. Maybe tea might be better right now. But it is so important that you commit to a certain time of day, and that you give yourself permission that this time is yours, just like you dedicate it to others when you're of service. This is a key word, give yourself permission, because you're going to have to give yourself permission to heal too. And that requires your attention, your time, your love. And as I said, imagine yourself as a baby and take care of it, love it, hug it, kiss it, nurture it. You know, as a woman, usually this comes a lot easier than for guys. You know, guys don't have this natural nurturing instinct, so we need to learn this a lot longer than women usually do.
Thank you for the visual.
You're very welcome.
I think you have, oops, sorry. I've got spam, but, but I have to say, you have developed that nurturing quality, John. You definitely have it. I can see in your eyes and the wisdom that you put out. So anyone else want to ask this wise soul anything while you have the opportunity?
I think it seems we're complete, Joni, but thank you for the beautiful compliment. I just want to say something. I have to give credit to my wonderful wife. I believe in the Native American cultures, it's said that it's one of a woman's greatest purposes to lead a man to his soul. And I am so blessed that my wife has fully lived up to that purpose and led me to my soul. So I have to give credit where credit is due. This goes to Christine, definitely.
That is so nice. It's so nice and refreshing to see somebody who's in a loving, wonderful relationship. And I know all these women out there are thinking, oh my God, he is so special. And I want to say this, it says a lot to stay married to the same person your whole life. I've done so as well. And I think to be committed and to work on relationship, there's nothing better as to having a fulfilled life with a partner that you've grown up together, grown together, worked together. There's nothing better than that, seriously. So I think people need to work a little bit harder on their relationships. And what I mean by that is all of us have to be an appreciation to our partner, because we couldn't be who we are or what we do without our partners. And I think when we wake up in the morning, if we will remember to give gratitude to our partners for all that they've done to help us be who we are, this is going to help all of our relationships grow and make our life so much better. So that just came out. I don't know where all that came from, John, but it was a wonderful message for all of us, because I have to say, I am so proud that I've been married 40 years. I'm so proud. And yeah, it's not always easy. You got to work through the hard times, but you know what? When you do, it makes the good times even better. And you'll learn so much. But life is, many ups and downs, but working together, I think, is everything. I'm so happy to hear that you have the same experience that I have with relationships. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh,
And,
thank you.
yeah, and this is all being recorded, so I will send you this recording, as well as I think half the people watch the recording that are part of this group. So not very many people can make it away at noontime, but I think it's a great time because I like it being in the middle of the day like this. It's a special time. So I want to extend my gratitude. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your pearls of wisdom. You're an amazing human being. Keep doing what you're doing, because you're helping all of us. And most of all, we feel the inspiration from you, John. Okay.
Thank you so much, Joni, and thank you for all the wonderful work you do, and for the love and the light and the joy you bring to people. Christine and I love watching your videos, and you're so unique in what you do. There's no one like Joni Patry out there, and you make the world a better place. So thank you very much, and thank you all for being here. And I'm excited that you're all learning from Joni. It's wonderful to see that.
You're so kind. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a blessed day. And we are so lucky to have had this hour with John. I got to say it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you all. Have a blessed day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.